Welcome to Reel 45 with Stefan and Greg Hancock. We vibe out and have real talk, so tune in and check this out. Yeah, today is a new day. Let's seize it now and get hype. We talking about our careers, our family, and just life. Yeah, share my story with you. Inspiration like every day. Reel 45, we gon' keep it live. I keep episodes on replay. Hey, Reel 45. Yeah, Reel 45. Yeah, show them how we do it, man. Yeah.
Yo, welcome to the Reel 45 Podcast. I am Greg Hancock. I'm going to be your host. I'm going to be your guest. I'm solo on this evening journey for the Reel 45 Podcast. My buddy, my partner in crime, Stefan Janelle, can't be with us on this broadcast, but we had some ideas, some thoughts about moving forward and trying to get some involvement from all of you out there who've been listening, paying attention, following me, following the podcast, and we want to have a little bit more inspiration, a little bit more fun, I should say. But it's always good to get your questions, your thoughts, or your concerns. Never any issues, right? But anyway, I'm a speeder racer. Many of you know that. I think most of you listening to this know that. And, out there to go racing, to get sideways. But the main thing is to win, and winning is what it's all about. You gotta be in control. You gotta be fast, and everything's gotta be calculated, so no matter what happens, the rider takes a lot of the credit when things go good, and when things don't go so good, there tends to be a lot of talk around about what happened and what did you do wrong and all this stuff. But the actual credit is a combined situation. It's a team of guys. If I look at it like this, whether it's a league racing or whatever. But I'm going to talk about the Grand Prix for now. I'm going to talk about me, be selfish Greg right now, because I'm so selfish. I think, in racing, you have to be somewhat selfish when you get on the track. But outside of the track, I don't think I'm too selfish. But, we can take that as another subject at another time, a later date. Let's talk about racing. Let's talk about winning. And for me, first of all, I want you to excuse me. I have a really nasty man cold. And, for all of you out there, getting a cold is one thing. But if you got a man cold, dude, that's serious, right? Every chick, every wife, girlfriend out there, she knows you don't want to mess with a guy who's got a man cold. Anyway, I sound a little nasally, but that's okay. It's just me. So, when I go racing, I started my racing career as a kid, and Dad was my biggest supporter, was my mechanic, was my wallet. He was my everything, and he pretty much showed me the ropes and taught me how to do everything so that I can work on my bikes, I can build my bikes, I can do everything that my mechanics can do. However, when you get to the next level and you get moving and you start racing more and more and more, and there's no time to be a rider, a mechanic, a mentor, do everything yourself. You gotta have a crew around you. And for me, I have what I think is the best crew you can get. They work really hard. It's, for me, if you don't have a good crew around you, it's not possible to win. And it starts at home. You got to have a good working team at home. That's your family, what have you. But when it gets to the track, it gets to the pits, it's those 1, 2, 3 guys. I have 3 guys that work for me full time, and they are unreal. And they know me better than I know myself most of the time. And what I mean is I can do my bikes myself, but when you get to the point where you're racing and you got to put your full focus into riding the bike, putting the bike where it needs to be on the track, watching the track conditions, working with specific riders or teammates if you're in a league event. But in the World Championship, it's all about me. That's where my selfishness comes in. I have to do everything for me, and I'm a dude who spends a lot of time talking with people and doing all that stuff. But I know that I can go into a place in my own head when it's time to get serious, and even if people are still talking to me, in my head, I'm in another place, and they're still talking to me, and I'm hearing everything and working with them, but I'm already starting to think about going racing, and I'm pretty happy that I can do that. That I can manage to handle that part. So my mechanics, sometimes they dislike that part, but that they know that's me, and it's I've had a pretty good run over the years being me, and there's no reason to change me because it works for me, and I'm always trying to be a little bit better. So these guys, they watch my every move. They watch me off the track. They watch me on the track. And then we discuss many things in and around the racing. So Raphael, who's my lead mechanic, has been with me for 14, 15 years or something like that without looking at it. I have Raphael High. He's the main man. This dude has been gold for me. I've had some great guys working for me over the years. I had Craig Hadley back in the day, who was with me in my first World Championship, together with my former business partner and longtime friend Roger Soderberg, and there's so many guys that have helped me over the years, but key people like that, and then I've had some of the most amazing people like the Nilsson family, Jeff Nilsson and his father Bill Nilsson from Sweden here, who they taught me so much, together with Lars Larsson, about speedway and racing in general, and how to approach races. And the biggest thing I learned that through Lars and Jeff and the crew is not to look at the speedway track as an oval. There are actually so many different things going on that oval surface you're riding on, but don't just look at it that you're going around in circles. Look for different things, and I won't go into that too much, but very, very grateful to have worked with former racers, former world champions, in both Bill Nilsson, who is the first ever official world motocross champion, and then he had unbelievable success racing back in the day on some of those bikes that were manly, and then Jeff, his son, two-time world enduro champion, and to have these guys in your corner. They probably didn't really think too much of speedway when they started working with me, but as the years went by, we've lost Bill, who's moved on, but his legacy lives on, and I'm still good friends with his son Jeff and his family and Mona, Bill's wife. So these guys, they still have a special place in my racing career. And although I didn't win a world championship with Jeff and Bill, I put a lot of credit to what they taught me, is what helped me to achieve what I have achieved since 2002 when I started to work with those guys. So the way it goes now, Raphael came to work with me back in 2002, 2003, somewhere there. If I can't get the date exactly in my head, but probably 2003. And the guy barely spoke a word of English, and he figured it out basically by, literally, I got a message on my, I got a small letter from Raphael's wife. She had wrote a letter for him saying, if you need a job, I like work, and his phone number. And I didn't need anybody at that time, but as it turned out, I got to a point where I needed to make a change and needed someone to help. So I made a phone call to Raphael and spoke to his wife, and basically said, if you can get to Prague for the Grand Prix in that year of 2003 or 2004, which year, don't put me on the spot, you get to the track, you can work with us in the Grand Prix, and from that point I will give you the shot to go to work for us and take over my Polish and Swedish matches. So Rafael made his way to Prague. I don't remember how he got there. And the fact is, he got to the track. He was there early, waiting for us. He worked with us in the Grand Prix that night. And then when the races were over, I literally handed him the keys to my van with my 2 bikes and all the equipment in it, and said, "I'll see you tomorrow in Poland." And I think we were in Czestochowa, the first meeting. I think. But anyway, Rafael, not only did he drive back to Poland, he had washed up both bikes, cleaned the van inside and out, and was at the track ready to go by the time I had got there. And those races back in that time, they started like 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. So that dude was determined, and he couldn't speak any English, so our communication was slim to none. So it was pretty exciting if I want to dig into this someday. But he basically bought a CD that was, a Polish English CD that he played over and over and over and over, that was very basic. "Hello, my name is, do you have a map? Here is my passport. Where is the train station?" All this kind of stuff. It was awesome. So if I come up to present day, Rafael now speaks great English. He's established himself as more than just a mechanic, by far, way more. Has one of the largest speedway distribution businesses in the world now too. He's one of the big hitters in the game, and is also one of those dudes who's a former rider. He's worked with many riders, and he's been with me now for like 14 years. We have 3 world championships together, and he knows how to make me fast. So later in time, we brought in Bojo Spolny, who worked with Rocklove for many, many years. Took Rafael under his wing way back in the day and taught him the ropes, and where it led him into being a rider, etc. And I don't want to tell too much, because I think this is a story in itself that we'll take up someday. And it's really, really interesting, fascinating, and amazing what they've done and where they've come from and where they are today. So Bojo came in and started helping us approximately 10 years ago. And it was Raf and Bojo more or less together, and Bojo started helping me more seriously when Jeff and Bill decided to move on and do their, spend more time with their families, because they came out of racing their whole lives and then jumped in with me. And I think that I probably took up way more time than was anticipated. However, it all worked out great, and Jeff taught Rafael so much about fixing the bikes, putting them together, and doing the best job he could for the rider, which was me. Make sure that the controls work, which is, I still work in the same way today. My throttle's got to work good. My clutch has got to be perfect to my liking. And there can't be any squeaks, and things can't be loose or vibrating, because I'm very anal about that kind of stuff. Slightest vibration makes me nuts, and then I will be crazy to figure out what the problem is. I don't get crazy on my guys. They are very, very understanding, and we have one deal that we don't go crazy in the pits. We don't yell at each other, or if something doesn't work out the way it was supposed to. It's not like I spit the dummy, as you guys say, and throw myself on the floor, or yell at them and throw my helmet and get angry, and that's just not my style, And I was taught that at an early age from my dad, and fortunately I listened to the best mentors that I could have ever been around, when guys like Bobby Schwartz and Bruce Penhall, and probably one of the most influential for me was John Cook, because he was very, very much trying to be, work hard, that work ethic, and never upset anybody. And, you got to speak your mind, but it's also very important to just be in control of yourself and don't fly off the handle if you can avoid it. But I've had my moments. But Raf has learned my ways, and together we have done so many crazy things over the years, working with some amazing people, with fabricators, with engine tuners, electronics people, all sorts of different things. And most of the time I go back home in the wintertime and I start my testing, and I start come up with new ideas and new things that I want to do. And I've got to be, I always believe that I can be better, so I'm trying to be better than every rider out there. I can't beat them by just turning the throttle and being crazy and wild, because they'll eat me up all day long. So anyway, the way things have gone for me over the years that I've understood, Raphael's taught me so much about, also, like, you can't control what's out of your control, right? So if things aren't working, be more quick to move on to the next thing rather than persevere for too long, because you can lose. In the World Championship, you don't have time to persevere for too long. You've got to be quick to make a decision and rule something out or fix something quick. If it's not happening, move on. And our standing thing today is make me fast. So many times I come in and things might not be going well, as they weren't going that great in Gorjov last week to begin with. And I remember coming in and looking at them and just said, come on, make me fast. And they make magic. And it takes four to tango in this case, because in the last couple of years we've also taken on Oscar Vostinsky, and Oscar has taken control of our Swedish. He takes care of all my Swedish commitments and the Grand Prix together with Rafael and Baggio. So Rafael and Baggio do the Polish commitments and the Grand Prix, and then Oscar handles my Swedish commitments, and together we all do everything in the Grand Prix. So it's quite unique in how it works. But these guys, they have to understand that I might have a hard day, I might have an off day, and I never give up. I never get angry. I might just not be thinking straight, but I'm the first one to blame myself before I blame my bikes. And they are so good to always try to, hang on a second, no, it's not you, it is the bikes. And I'm like, no, it's me. And I know when it's me. So if I'm having a hard day and I keep insisting that it's me, they're pretty quick to try to change my thoughts and say, no, man, it's not you. Maybe you are having a hard time. Maybe it's not working the way it is. But if we get the bike working like this and going like this, you will have a much better day. So you can see there's a psychological advantage. And if you don't have the faith and the trust in each other, it's never going to happen. So it doesn't matter who you are and what you say or how you do it. But these guys, they know me like a book. And many times I'm sure they do things without telling me to. So I don't want to know too much, because I think that if I know too much, then I think more. And another thing we always say is don't think too much, because you can outthink yourself. And, for me, I'm stoked because as I said, the best crew that I can possibly have for myself. These guys, they make it happen. There's never an issue. If I need something, I call them. It's done. Many times it's like they're in your head, Oscar's pretty crazy like that too when he's here working with us in Sweden. And he can just, I'll turn around to say something and he's already there doing it, and you go, wow, this is how it should be. These guys know you so well. But when we're at the track, when we're in the pits and the tension is high, the engines are running, the noise is there, the desire to win is so high that if I don't do well, I let them down as much as I'm letting myself down. So they know that I've got to be on my game. So they've got to do everything they can to make sure that bike is 100% perfect, because if something's wrong, I will find it and I will say there's something isn't right. And they know that. I look at my bikes quite regular because I take a big interest in them. I don't just show up at the track and get on them and ride. I still have a gander, look over them, sit on them, feel them, check things out, just because it's my life. And although I trust these guys like crazy, it's very easy to miss something. And it becomes a routine. We do this so much, and we're working all the time, and we're trying to be a little bit better than the rest. You can still slip up. You can miss something. There can be a broken frame. There can be a broken wire. There can be a damaged fuel line. There can be a broken bolt that you missed while you were washing it, and suddenly you have this crazy vibration that feels like the chain is about ready to snap or something's going to fall off. And when you're sitting at sitting on the bike and you got the thing revved up to 10,000 RPMs as you rip it into the corner and throw it sideways at what is it, 120 kilometers an hour, then you're like, whoa, man, if that chain snaps, the only thing that's going to happen is I am going to do one of the most incredible gymnastics moves ever without a pad, unless you hit the airbag. And that can be pretty nasty. I've been on the receiving end of a few of those, and laid in the hospital with a dislocated shoulder and a broken scaphoid when the chain snapped. And those kind of things, you can't predict them. It's only steel and aluminium, as Otto Weiss always used to say, and things can break. So it's so important to know what you got. You can check everything out, you can double check it, you can triple check it, but I always need to know that everything is right. I need to make sure that that throttle's got to be perfect. If it's not, I'll say, man, you guys lube the cable again, or check for maybe a crack in the throttle housing or in the top of the carburetor or something like that. And then the clutch, I'm the worst, because that's what wins me races, is the clutch, and that thing has got to be 100% correct. It can't be 99%. It can't be 101%. It needs to be 100 on the money. And I can get away with it many times when it's not. But, when you go to the starting line and the race lasts 1 minute, you need everything to be perfect when you drop that thing. When the green light comes on and you rev it up, if it starts to pull you a little bit, or the thing is shaking or something, your concentration is not on the focal point of the tapes. It's on, crap, is this thing going to snap? Is something going to break? What's going to happen? So suddenly, if you're thinking about that, your mind is gone for that fraction of a second. The tapes go, you missed it just by a fraction, and then your mechanics, when you come in, are like, why, you were late from the start, you did this, you did that, and you're trying to explain to them that there was a problem, and all they're thinking is, dude, you were late. You didn't drop it on time. You didn't do this. And that has happened too. You're just not ready on the day. But many a times, there's so much going through your head in that short period of what's going on, and you're revving the bike up, and the things at 8, 10, 12,000 RPM, and it's a lot of vibration between your legs, and it might be 1, 2, or 3 seconds that you got to stand there with that thing revving up, and you're just going, whew, hold together, baby. So, yes, I put a lot of pressure on my guys to make sure it's right. And if it's not right, they're going to hear about it. We might wait until the races are over, but many a times we have to make sure that we deal with it, and we can, I've been really, really angry, and I won't say a word, and they know when I'm angry, which doesn't happen very often, thankfully, because they do a great job, and I do my job right, and together we try to be successful. So we can go on the way home, and it's happened from both sides that I've had to apologize for something I said in the heat of the moment, and that has also gone the other way around when they say something and maybe haven't, they thought they saw one thing, and then they see a replay, and then they go, oh, you know what, maybe we were wrong, or maybe I was wrong, or I shouldn't have said that. I did that wrong, and I just got upset. And, that's the kind of working relationship that is awesome. We don't get mad at each other. If we do, we resolve it, and it's okay, because it's part of, we just want to win. I want to win. I want to be fast, and I want to be the world champion. Plain and simple. So anyway, that is my story in a nutshell. And my guys, someday you'll get them on this podcast when I can convince them to sit down talk shit with me. But it's not so easy because they know I like to talk shit and talk about a lot of shit. But they don't want to do it all the time because they're busy too. So I'll get them though. You'll get to check it out. But anyway, I had a few questions, and I'm going to go through some of these things with you guys because I want you to know that I've seen them and I've read them and I know what's up. But there's the great Gert Hansen, who he wanted me to tell you about my manager, and that's Josh. And Josh Gigan, he works with Monster Energy and freelance journalist, and pretty cool dude. Has helped me a lot. I had Richard Child, who was with me for so many years, and we have so many great championships and great races and good times together, and life has taken a turn and he's doing different things now, but he's still a major part of our program and always there to help and support where he can. So we miss Rich, and but he's still with us, and now Josh is taking over doing things for us on a daily basis, and our organization with everything, with our websites and our media, and taking care of all of our guests and things like that at the races. And he's a big help to the whole program for me and for our Hancock High team as well. So that's it. Now I've got Neil Weaver. You said you wanted to hear plans and motivation. What keeps me motivated to keep racing at such a high level? Man, I love what I do. I absolutely love Speedway, and I love getting sideways. And you guys have heard a lot of this before, and it's the plain, simple truth. For me, there's nothing better than taking my speedo bike down the straightaway at some crazy mile per hour and pitch it into a drift and hang off the thing, and then try to balance it and try to make it not drift too much and go as fast as I can. And it's badass. So if you haven't ever tried it, I recommend you should try it somehow, some way in your life. Get sideways, whatever you do. It might just be sitting in your chair and making your chair squeak like this. Did you hear that? It's great. And all the time when I'm racing, I only want to do one thing, and that's win. So it's very easy. As long as my body holds up and I don't end up in a situation that I can't ride, it's just to power through and try to be a little bit better, a little bit stronger, a little bit faster, man. And I just want to win. It's too much fun. That will change one day, I'm sure, but it is what it is for now. If I keep on going here, I got a few more too. I have one. I think I already answered this one anyway. So that was from one Ewithak, and wanted the general intro to my pit crew, which I gave you. Rafael High, Bojo Spolny, and Oscar Vostinski, as well as Josh Gigan, my manager. So, you got all that there. I mean, everything for us, as you said here, you want to know about setup and track conditions and things like that. Bike setup is always something that is important because you get to the track, and we get there at least an hour to 2 hours before, depending on where we are and what we're doing. Being a guy of my long-lasting experience, I've been to a lot of tracks. I've been in a lot of circumstances and different track conditions and weather conditions and things like that. So we have an idea what we want to do before we get there. And then when you get to the track, you have to check it out to make sure that something strange hasn't happened, or there hasn't been a little bit more water on the track than there has been rain. And those things happen, so you have to be ready for anything. And Bajo always tells me, you must always be ready. Sometimes he says it as a joke, and sometimes he says it in all seriousness, and I miss a start. And I come in and I say, I wasn't quite ready. And he comes back faster than I can finish my sentence, and he says, you must always be ready. And that's when I get the reality of, man, you got to be ready. So it is what it is. Then we go to the the Toothless 2210. I'm not going to look up your name. I just like Toothless 2210. Sweet. Relationships between the riders, man. You know what? most of the speedway, as you guys know, speedway riders are all, we're like a big family in one way, which is super, super crazy, because it's a very fast-paced sport. It's super physical. It's dangerous, but it's within reason. It's part of the adrenaline, So, but most of us, we travel so much together. One day we race together in the same team. The next day we race against each other. It's really, really weird. This sport is so weird for that reason. How can you be teammates? Chris Holder and I be teammates today, and tomorrow we're racing against each other, and the day after that we're in the World Championship, and it's so abnormal, but it works. And the guys have so much respect for each other, but when it gets down to the track, hey man, I want to win. I want to beat him more than he's going to beat me. That's how I look at it. So I never put somebody in a position that's going to potentially hurt them. That's not my ambition. I might run them to the limit, but accidents happen, and sometimes you go over the top a little bit, but it's never in the meaning. It's just to give a good solid race, and if you're elbow to elbow for 4 laps and you win the heat or you just lose, it's always nice to shake the hand after and say, hey, thanks for a good race. So, there's always a handful of guys out there that rattle your cage, and you address them in the way that you need to at the time. But, in this day and age, the rules and regulations don't allow you to say much, do much, give any sort of verbal or visual feelings in that manner, as we've seen recently too. So it is what it is, man. But it's not bad. You got to have a good personality. You got to you have to know when to separate the race time from the chill time, and I seem to be able to manage that in the best that I can. So, although I do take my work home with me much of the time, and my wife would probably vouch for that. So that's it. I'm gonna move on here. What do we got here? Dark Side Photo. You said, what does it take to run a full season of GP? How many crew, cost, miles driven, etc.? Oh man, you know what? That is so tough to say on mileage and things like that. But I do my program a little bit different because I have a base here in Sweden, and then my mechanics have a base in Poland as well. So we have 2 workshops, and there's a lot of travel. But my mechanic, I have my Oscar, who travels here every week. He flies between Sweden and Poland, and we keep 2 bikes here so they can work from this point during the week. So he flies here Monday, fixes the bikes. We go race on Tuesday. He cleans them on Wednesday, and he flies home Wednesday morning, afternoon, or evening. And then it all starts again. The following week, he comes back Monday. We do Tuesday, cleans Wednesday. He leaves Thursday. And then it's Grand Prix every second week. So Thursday, Friday, we're off to the next GP. So it's cars, it's planes, trains, and automobiles much of the time. Oscar often takes a train from his house in Leszno to Wrocław or Poznan, gets on an airplane, flies to Sweden. I pick him up in the car, and we drive back to my place. And it's logistically, it can be a nightmare sometimes, but most of the time it works pretty good. So costs and things like that, we don't want to go into that right now. That'll take too long on this podcast, but it's not cheap. We do everything on a budget and try not to be silly, but this day and age, you got such great websites for booking travel. You work hard to find sponsors, and I've got great deals with people like Kozarin in Poland who help me out with a lot of travel costs and things like that. So you need sponsors. It's very difficult to do it all on your own, and if we didn't have these great people like that, like Kozarin, for example, and then people like Redline Oil and Motion Pro and Monster Energy who back me, I can go on and on. NGK, all these guys, everything they do, whether it's monetary or it's product or something else, it is so crucial because the costs are astronomical. Our budgets are high, and it's a lot of fuel costs, it's a lot of travel costs, it's hotels, it's food, it's then you get to the bikes with engines and engine rebuilds and tires. You have 3 tires more or less for every meeting, and tire costs you anywhere from sort of 50 to 60 euros approximately, and you got your fuel costs, and you got your oil costs if you don't have a sponsor, and the wear and tear on the engines. It all adds up, man, and I don't want to bore you with all that kind of stuff, but might be a pretty fun episode one time to sit down with the guys and really lay this all on the line, because it's guys like Luke Becker are figuring that out now. You come over here and you want to set yourself a budget to go racing, and suddenly you forget some of the most simple things, and it all adds up. So good question though. Anyway, Suzanne Newhauser, I know you, and you asked me here too. It would be great to work together after my riding career has gone or developed in the sport, or your riding career for development in the sport. Oh, utilize that. Well, who knows what's going to happen down the line. I love working with the kids. I love working with teams. I love working with riders. And even more importantly, love working with my sponsors. So there's so much. I'm a hands-on guy. I have a hard time leaving everything to my mechanics and the people around me, as Josh would even say. I need to delegate a little bit more, and my wife reminds me of that quite frequently too. So, but I want everything to run smoothly, and sometimes it's you need to let it go and let other people do things for you. But it's been working good, and I want to be better, so I'll continue working hard, and who knows what will happen in the future. We'll see. That's down the line. Guys, let's see. What do we got here now, too? Here is, I don't even know how to pronounce this, but anyway, it's UIKMV. Whoever you are. Hello, Greg. Have you ever argued with your colleagues about setting up your bike? And whose opinion is usually the main one? Are you superstitious? What inspires you before a race? And have you the most friendly relationship amongst your crew? You know what? We probably have arguments and we have disagreements about specific things. I want to do one thing one way and he wants to do another thing, or they want to do something a different way. And, for me, I try hard to reason with them. I like to hear their version of why they want to set up a gear ratio the way they want to do it, or why they want to make this combination with the wheelbase in this way, and changing the complete combination of carburation and ignition and stuff like that. This is all stuff that we do every day, but sometimes I've got my heart set on one specific way, and then they come with this crazy idea to do something totally the opposite, and I'm like, what do you mean? No way. Why would you do that? Let's just try it, then we know. And many a times we just try it, and then we know. And that can go either way, so it's, I can't say that any one of us is always right. And the other thing in our team is we never say that any one of us is the boss. We all have a say in the game, and in the end, maybe I can make the final decision, but a lot of the times we delegate and work through it together. So it works cool. Superstitious? I am probably superstitious in some ways, and I can't say that I have to have things in a certain manner or do things in a certain way. I get dressed in the same manner. I think it's more routine, and maybe that's my superstition. I got to have everything done in the same way so that I know that I did this right and I did that right, and it's been working good, so I want to keep it working good. So, as far as colors go and things like that, no superstitions there. I don't eat a specific food before the races or anything like that. You're always conscious of like a black cat crossing the road or something like that. I'm always thinking, is that good luck or is that bad luck? So whatever way, then I think if you something that you've read about this means it's bad luck because this happened or that happened, I'm thinking, okay, that didn't really happen. So I'm going to have to really be careful now and see if this goes that way. So in that way, I don't think I'm that superstitious. Anyway, it's cool. It's really cool. My crew are very, very friendly. They are cool dudes. They're all three are Polish. And in one way they are super open and super talkative, but in another way they are very much to themselves because they don't want to give away too much. They're very cool with each other and get along great, and they know when to have fun. They know when when we have to cut it out and not have too much fun. But they might come across with a stone face sometimes, but that doesn't mean they're not nice guys. They just they're focused on doing their thing, and they go and do it. So I don't ever really have any issues with them, and sometimes we have to they know when you got to be nice to somebody when you don't need to. If that makes sense. Anyway, let's see. Gosh, there's another one here. Delegating responsibilities. My guys, that came from Master Bill 96. What's up, Master Bill? You know what? Delegating responsibilities, I do my thing and they do theirs. I think between the three of them, when it comes to a Grand Prix, for instance, they all have their place on the bike in the pits, what they do. One will be working with carburetor and chains, and the other one will be working with clutch and rear wheel, and then one will be taking care of fuel and various other items. And although these guys do, many times they do everything themselves at one event, and then it comes to a Grand Prix and they delegate because they want to make sure that everything gets done with precision. There's no mistakes, nothing is missed. So you take care of this, I'll take care of that, and he'll take care of this. Greg will go race and win. That's how it works most of the time. So it's really, really important that everybody knows what they got to do, but you don't want to, you got to make sure that they all stay focused. And, when one day you're doing everything yourself and the next day you're only doing a couple of things, that can feel kind of odd. However, these guys are so good with each other that I never worry about it. The coolest thing is that we have, and probably the greatest thing that we have together, is that when we go racing, I pretty much do my own thing. I make my way to the track and they do their own thing and they make their way to the track. If I need a ride or pick up from the airport, we have a chat, and then they will pick me up at, wherever I'm flying to and take me to the track. Otherwise, I rent a car, and I will see you at the track 2 hours before the meeting. And then I get in the car after the meeting and make my way back to a hotel or wherever we're headed after that. So, and we all know, I might not speak to them for a couple of days, but when it comes race time, I show up at the track 2 hours before, and so do they, and there's no questions asked. We know what we're doing. We have such a good collaboration or telepathy that we know what's got to be done. So if I get there, they know I'm coming, and if things aren't working out the way they were, then we have a communication, or just let them know that, hey, I'll see you at the track at this time or whatever, and that's what we do. You do your job, I do my job. Together, we'll be successful. That's how it works. You know what? I'm going to give you one last question here. The white horn. There's quite a few. This is cool. Some are repeating each other and what have you, but the white horn. Do you give or receive tips from any fellow competitors during the GPs? During the GP, nowadays, I work very closely with our teammate, with Chris Holder. So Chris and I, we've shared a lot of information over the years, and in such a way that he and I both know that we're buddies, we're fierce competitors, and we are two completely different individuals. I do things my way, he does things his way, and a lot of the things that I do or combinations that I use, my chassis that I use, and things like that are so different than what he does. So we can actually share specific information, knowing that maybe he and I have the same engine tuner, for instance, and we have the same engine combination, yet we set them up completely different. I run a different carburation, a different ignition. I run a different gear ratio. My chassis are different than Chris's. So we know that everything that he's doing, I might test or try at some point, but 9 times out of 10, I don't run what he's running. So we share information, basically trying to better each other. But when we get on the track, I want nothing more than to beat him. the rest of the guys, I don't share that much information during the Grand Prix. It's that's not something you do, and we have casual chats here and there, and there's a lot of banter around, but you try to be inspiring to yourself, yet you're always curious. However, if you're feeling good, if you're riding good, you don't need to be curious. You can have a look and see what somebody's doing and see how quick they're going, and you think, that looks pretty cool. It looks like he's got something going on there. And then you might pay a little bit more of attention and try to be like that, or be better, or just take a little piece out of it. So some people come and give you advice and give you stuff if you're having a rough day, but most of the time when it comes to the World Championship, there's only one winner. And that's how it is. So anyway, guys, everybody, I think I've said enough. You're going to get tired of listening to me. And besides that, I have this nasty man cold. But I want to thank you very much for listening. You guys are awesome. You're great. I really appreciate you asking these questions, and I hope that I answered a lot of them. And we'll do this again really soon. So Stefan will be back with us next week. And all of you, be good peoples out there. Be fast. I want to be fast. And thanks for listening. Peace, everybody. Green to win. I'll see you soon. Out.
Welcome to Reel 45 with Stefan and Greg Hancock. We vibe out and have real talk, so tune in and check this out. Yeah, today is a new day. Let's seize it now and get hyped. We talking about our careers, our family, and just life. Yeah, share my story with you. Inspiration like every day. Reel 45, we gon' keep it live. I keep episodes on replay. Hey, Reel 45. Yeah, Reel 45. Show them how we do it, man. Yeah.